Okay, so by the time this video comes out, an update fixing the aiming issue was patched in for arcade. This is where the guns wouldn't correct itself when aiming against enemies behind map obstacles or islands. Well, it's fixed, somewhat. At the very least, they fixed it, even if it took nearly a month. Unfortunately, a new bug took over. So let's talk about bugs for a bit. There are a few bugs that have persisted since last year. These mostly happen in arcade. Only a few are in realistic. First, the new bug. When you use a plane, regardless if it is your ship's scout plane or a spawned air support, once you are back controlling your ship, your zoom in scoped mode will be affected. The zoom will become minuscule and will stick for the entire game. Even if you spawn in a different ship, it will persist. It's not as bad as the previous aiming bug, but this is annoying. You'll have to either avoid spawning planes or make do with the very small target when scoped. Then there's a random bug I noticed post Hornet's sting. I needed more time to confirm. It's nothing serious, but to help explain, when zoomed in and after shooting, I have the habit of switching back to third person view. This is to allow me to see where I am moving and to get a better grasp of who to shoot by priority. After zooming back in to shoot the same target, there will be times the cursor is aiming somewhere else. It's not much of a bug, but it happens randomly. No quick fix. Just make sure to adjust your aim when this happens. Then there's the missing torpedo aiming line before this patch was silently fixed. It happened in both arcade and realistic and would only show after firing 1 to 2 torpedoes. The last would be the whole connection to the server was lost error. It is a persisting issue since I don't know when, and is still apparent to this day. I only noticed this in arcade though. It's so random I can't tell if this happens in realistic. I did report this and they requested I do a recorded ping test. Due to the randomness though, I couldn't provide a reliable recording. What happens is that a sudden packet loss will happen and you receive the error. Back then, maybe 4 years ago, all I needed to do was to Alt F4 the game then jump back in. This quick fix no longer works since 2 years ago. I heard that you can try using Task Manager to force close the game, but the chances to join back is 50-50. A quick update. In the process of making this video, they fixed the zoom issue with patch 2.45.1.91, so you should no longer have zoom issues after using planes. Hooray! That's pretty much it for the bugs. Now for our main topic on the video, I was debating if this episode should be longer. Either I only talk about arcade or realistic for 2 different videos. I then decided to just merge both since there isn't much difference aside from the aiming. I mentioned in my previous video that I would delve deeper into the mechanics and gameplay. Let's start with arcade. I won't be talking much about coastal. They are essential, but it isn't popular for many. Like air and ground arcade, naval also has toned down physics. Compared to realistic mode of air or ground battles, naval arcade is mostly preferred due to how easy it is to grind here. Sure, arcade has lesser rewards than realistic, but you can't argue getting at least 50,000 silver lions and large amounts of RP every game. They made sure that you won't get negative silver lions even if you lose while expending all ships. I know I previously mentioned that keeping your main and secondary separate is ideal, but you can keep them bound to one button. There are a few reasons. When starting out, you'd want to have accurate control of the secondaries. Calibers that fall under destroyers are inaccurate when controlled by AI, and most people prefer having to button mash their guns against an enemy for maximum damage. This is true, especially when you are playing at early to mid tiers in Bluewater. Coastal, it's best having all guns bound. You can still do this at high tiers, though you have to remember that your secondaries are not effective against battleships. Having the secondaries separated will allow you to concentrate on your main guns, but this is usually useful on realistic. While the secondary AIs are still inaccurate in realistic, it is best to maintain your concentration on either primaries or secondaries when dealing with a target here. The AAA batteries, however, are quite accurate. It looked like they became more accurate since Hornet's sting. Even when using a PT boat, if you switch to the small arm guns, the main cannons, or what are still considered AAA batteries are still accurate if AI controlled. It'll be harder to use planes for revenge strikes later on, when late warships start coming out. They're also good when dealing with pesky torpedo boats. Just make sure to keep your AI targeting enabled for both air and ships. There are advantages in switching to anti-air or surface targets only. For example, switching to anti-air only will make sure that any enemy planes will receive your AI gunners their full attention. Same with surface targets only. Keeping both on will have your gunners split their tasks, but in most cases, you are too far for any meaningful surface engagements for your AI to shoot at, which allows your anti-air guns to do their work uninterrupted. Man, the amount of anti-air is absurd. Moving on to maps, you'll have three main selections: Conquest, Domination, and Encounter. There are battle maps, but they are so rare to encounter even at low tiers. Most people hate Conquest maps. They are open water maps and sometimes have small areas of islands, or are low lying ones, like Midway. Though the advantage of Midway is that it's hard to launch torpedoes here. There should have been more maps in rotation, but these are the most common you will encounter. At top tier, above 5.0 or 6.0, a lot less maps will be in rotation. These maps have barely any islands to use for cover. They changed the map cycles sometime last year. I wasn't aware when, but a lot has been removed in the rotation at 7.0. This actually led to encounters where you immediately shoot as you spawn in. This actually made a lot of people stop playing naval. I doubt bringing in big name ships will help recover player count unless they fix the map cycles and the multitude of bugs they have. Coastal battles will be short, all of you are easier to kill, and most coastal battles will include bringing in a destroyer. Coastal ships' highest BR is 4.0 and the lowest BR for Bluewater is 3.0. Due to compression, you will encounter destroyers up until 4.3 or 4.7 if you are unlucky. Bringing at least a starter destroyer would be essential for coastal, but it is entirely up to you. Even when using low-tier Bluewater ships at 4.6, you will encounter heavy cruisers that are under 5.7 or 6.3. I encountered a Des Moines player even when my entire lineup is 4.7. They have been trying really hard to fix the lineup in Naval, but due to the low player count, don't be surprised that you will be forced into an entirely higher tier against you. Since Arcade allows you to see the ship's enemy players bring in through the statistics menu, it is smart in looking at what enemies bring in. Coastal has a few boats that you need to look out for, but not as much as Bluewater, where you need to keep an eye out for a Shimakaze or Scharnhorst. Spawning late will allow you not to be the immediate target by players and bots. Being a target is the last thing you want. Spawning late or waiting for the timer to spawn, you will at least allow you some freedom to sail off and not be a target. This method is effective at higher tiers where battleships take some time to maneuver and position themselves for a full broadside fire. Take note that despite this, if you bring in anything else other than a battleship at top tier, you will be their primary target. I would do the same. You won't get any mercy from players. Spawning early for low tiers is acceptable. You can still deal with light cruisers and heavy cruisers, but once battleships are in play, you can't do much against them. I wouldn't call a coma a battleship though. Coastal or Bluewater, if you are in a domination map, spawning in first will help cap points early. You can use ships with scout planes, but the distance between your ship and the cap will be significant. It is also only smart in doing this if you are spawned behind an island. Most maps will spawn you right in front of the enemy, so smarter players will spawn through coastal boats instead. Some enemies will be just as smart, so make sure to bring in a boat that can handle against other PT boats. There will be cases where there are brief battles between coastal boats, but these are sometimes essential in capping points. I'd recommend bringing a gunship or frigate. Torpedo boats, while useful, are pretty situational against small boats. To quickly take down another PT boat, either you need one with armor or one with more guns. Realistic will not show player markers, so if you plan to spawn in late, give it 10 to 15 seconds as to not be in anyone's gun sights. You can't tell who the bot or player is, but people will know if you watch their movement. You can tell if it's a player or not through movement alone, so try to avoid giving attention to yourself. At early tiers, destroyers would battle it out near islands, and when the opportunity arises, would use torpedoes as the killing blow. You'll have to time it right though. Arming distance and the speed of the torpedo matters. So when it comes to your shots at Bluewater, plunging shots happen at a closer range than real life. Due to the size of the map, we are at closer ranges and they modified the physics for plunging fire. This will be different for each ship, but most plunging fire will happen effectively from 12.5 kilometers and will be fully effective at 15 kilometers. Remember that for high tier at Bluewater, both sides will be at 15-kilometer distance from each other at the start, so there is a chance to get ammo racked by the initial volleys of shells. Domination maps will incentivize players to come closer to each other. This will be a disadvantage to most battleship players that excel at range but at least brings in more action. Conquest and encounter maps are best for long-range battles, but they don't have the best reputation considering that Conquest is a tug-of-war battle in bad map placement. Encounter maps are great since killing AI unarmed ships will help bring the ticket down but can get pretty chaotic. Let's talk about damage. Most ship main calibers have two types of ammo you only need to consider: AP or HE. Small calibers have time fused or proximity shell variations. SP is a mix of AP and HE, less of each combined. So it's the type to penetrate with a bigger explosive filler, but the penetration is half-baked and has less explosive filler than HE. Destroyers don't have much armor, but cannot be killed by small arms and autocannons of coastal boats. You'd need larger cannons for this. As you move up in ships from light cruisers to heavy cruisers and so on, it would be pretty much the same. The last point would be through battleships. While heavy cruisers can hurt them, only a few of them with the right ammo can potentially damage or kill them in rare occurrences. AP will penetrate but has less explosive filler, so you use them by disabling weapons or blow up ammo storages. HE or SP are used to inflict fire on the ship. Now, fire is quite dangerous. If you leave it as is, it will reach your ammo storage and kill you. I don't see any advantage in ammo optimization in naval. Hitting your ammo stowage has a 50-50 chance of not killing you. Cannons here are not as accurate as ground battles, and shots could be irrelevant due to your armor and angle of the shots. Now, once your ammo stowage blows up but doesn't kill you, this means that you can't use your cannons even at full repair. Not many people know about this, so it is best to remember it. There is only one way to get your cannons back in action if you lost your ammo. You would need to be in a refill point. Refill points are at two locations here. In domination maps, they are the capture points. In encounter maps, it is by being near the supply ships. Your most hated map if this happened are conquest maps, since there is no place to refill ammo. That means you will need to sail with one or two turrets out of action. Refilling will take time, which will allow you to make use of all your guns. But this makes you a sitting target since you need to be in proximity for the reload. There are several types of repair on Bluewater ships. There is the damage control team, firefighting team, then there are pumps to help slow and remove flooding. Repairs, firefighting, and flood removal is different compared to other vehicles. These come in teams and would affect how quickly each type will take when handling damage efforts in your ship. All teams are counted along with your crew count. They are distributed throughout the ship but does not indicate where they are or how evenly they are distributed. The most common would be your repair teams. They help repair damaged modules and weapons. The repair time will increase if you keep taking damage. The firefighting teams are important as they keep the fire from spreading. This makes sure that at least the fire won't reach the ammo stowage. The firefighting time will increase if you use repair and water pumps, so it is best to use firefighting only when you are on fire. The pumps work differently. I know you'd think that they just immediately pump out water, but it doesn't work that way. The teams used to engage the pumps are taken from the repair and firefighting teams. Pumps also does not engage immediately. They do a repair sequence first and seal off any breaches on the ship. This can be distinguished by another repair timer showing beside the original repair timer. They have their own timer, but like mentioned before, the timer will increase for every breach added on the ship. Once the second repair sequence finishes and no additional breaches are made, the pump will start and the pumping icon will show. The time will vary depending on the ship, the crew level, and how serious the flooding was. There will be situations where you are forced to engage everything, which will slow down the timer for each team. It is perfectly fine, but remember that this will affect how long you will keep repairing, how long you float, and how long till the fire reaches the ammo stowage. If there is an island, it is best to take cover behind it and wait out the repair from there. Again, when you do have a chance. Smoke covers can help, but they only last for a minute or two. So, yeah, near miss shots by large caliber rounds and bombs on softer targets like destroyers up to heavy cruisers can be damaged in realistic, but the damage is less than what it could do in real life. For torpedoes, only one ship is a major threat to this. Shimakaze. Other IJN ships carry the same torpedoes as her, but she is the only one that can launch 15 long lance torpedoes simultaneously. The long lances are the most deadly torpedoes in the game. They are not only very fast, they have the highest amount of explosive filler and range. Most late IJN destroyers and cruisers carry them. A single hit can potentially sink you. Not many know how dangerous she is. This is why people in the know aim for Shimakaze at the start of the battle if they see one. You'll really have to remember why the Japanese were the only ones with the most effective torpedoes in the war. Thankfully, she is only a squadron vehicle, so it will take people some time to grind for it. Aiming is like what I mentioned before. The only disadvantage of the current aiming mechanic is not being able to tell where to shoot when the enemy is moving around and changing directions. There are no indicators, so you will have to use your gut feeling to adjust your aiming based on enemy movement. Well, there's also the part where it is harder to aim for the waterline too. The reason why aiming for the waterline is important is because most ships have placed their ammo stowage below the waterline. And the best way to hit the ammo stowage is through the waterline, since armor tends to be softer there. There will of course be ships that will either have heavier armor or are placed far below that line, but a good plunging shot can deal with that instead. Aside from the ammo stowage, it's also the best place to flood a ship due to the proximity of the water. Realistic is still the most stable. Aiming will be based on the drop point marker and lead indicator. First time realistic players will be confused on how the aiming works. So I hope this video helps you out when you try it out. You will find yourself in scoped mode a lot here. When aiming, you will find the necessity to lock onto a target to help bear your guns in the right direction and generate lead indication. A cursor is there to help show you where you need to aim your guns, but don't mistake it as where your shots will land. The range displayed is not entirely accurate, so don't rely on it too much. The green drop marker is what you need to keep an eye on. The lead indicator is where the ship's center mass will be at when you take the shot. So lining up the lead indicator and the drop point to where you want your shells to land is essential. The green drop point will automatically point to the waterline of the ship once you lock onto it, but it will not auto-adjust if the ship is moving towards you or away from you. To adjust the elevation, there are two ways. One is to use the middle mouse button to update the drop point, but this will only be at the time of your update. The second is to manually adjust the gun elevation by using the scroll wheel to help compensate for the elevation. Adjusting by 2 to 3 scrolls up or down based on distance will help land your shots as to where it should be. You will have to be careful when using the middle click to update the drop point though. The unfortunate thing about this is that the middle click to lock targets and the update drop marker are bound together in Naval Realistic. You can't separate them. I wish you could. I tried looking for a solution, but it is bound by the system at target lock. You'll have to make sure that you do not accidentally lose the lock of your current target to another target or unlock target when doing this. Moving to another target or losing the lock will essentially have to make you wait for the lead marker to regenerate. This can take 10 seconds more or less, so this will give your enemy time to fire back at you. If you do lose the lock though and lock back, just make sure to remember where the lead indicator was so that you won't have to wait again before taking the shot. There are impressions that some people think that you can shoot down torpedoes. You can. If it's still on the plane, that is. You can't blow up the torpedoes on ships though. I think it was a missed detail. Once it is in the water, you can't shoot it down. Even in real life, this couldn't be done since the water acts as a shield. So yeah, don't get the idea that you can shoot it down. All you can do is pray the torpedo doesn't outright kill you. A few things I forgot to mention about aircraft support. Yes, you will be shot down by ships with effective AA, but you can use cloud cover. They can't shoot you while in cover, so if the weather conditions are right, use it to get to your target ship. Back then, if you were at 2,000 km altitude, most guns, including from frigates, were nearly ineffective. You are just too high for them. Now, they have higher chances of hitting you. So cloud cover is your only opportunity to get close and drop a bomb effectively. In realistic, it will be harder to hit targets, and not only that, some maps don't have aircraft carriers or airfields where you can land to rearm. I recommend double checking your bomb types for the aircraft you select. They quietly added armor-piercing naval bombs. These bombs have distinct loadouts. The US has the specific 1,600-pound armor-piercing bombs. Some need to be researched, while some will be available after a certain bomb has been researched. The main difference between these bombs is that they are designed to penetrate armored decks. They punch through armor and can explode within the ammo stowage below. This means that these bombs have a higher chance of sinking a battleship in one shot. It's not as damaging as a FAB-5000 though. That should cover most of the things you need to know about arcade and realistic. I was hoping they upped the physics in realistic, but doing so will make it harder for gameplay at the moment. Only time will tell if we get any changes. I'd like to talk more about map placement, but I've decided to maybe talk about specific ships and how to use them next. I'll probably start with what I have in my current lineup. I hope this video helped. They are hinting of bringing in some big name battleships in the future, so that should gain some attention to the mode. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on what I can improve on. See you in the next one.